Well, first and foremost, thank you very much.
Welcome.
For joining us here.
Coming to our offices.
Let's just start with the introduction. Just give everybody a little bit of a background, who you are, what your role is at the AA.
So, Antony Hausdoerfer, I'm the group CIO at the AA, so I'm responsible for all the technical platforms that we use to support our patrols in the field, our insurance customers when they're buying policies, renewing policies, but also it covers our developing businesses such as our driving school, our drive tech business, which is the business that supports you with training and development for driving, and also our prestige garaging network, which looks after you if you do need work done on your car. We also have a wide range of garaging network, so we support with all the systems that cover that as well.
Excellent. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself just quickly, Steve. I know we all know who you are.
Yeah, fine.
Seems I'm going to ask you some questions as well.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm Steve Lowe, Product Director for Mobile within Gamma, which includes kind of all of our mobile activities, including IoT.
Well, excellent. Okay, so let's just get amongst it then. So I'd quite like to just ask you, Anthony, obviously in your role as an CIO, clearly a very important role at the AA here. Just give us a little bit of a flavour in terms of what's top of mind for you, what's really on deck at the moment.
Well, there's been a lot of stuff that's been top of mind, I suppose, over the past 3 or 4 years. We had a couple of big transformation projects around replatforming our commercial platform to support road and insurance, which are now concluding. So that's great. There was some pretty big activities. Another one underway around improving and making improvements to the systems that we use to process our customer information when they're having a breakdown, making sure that we can be as accurate as we can, making sure we can understand, hopefully, as far as we can get, what is the problem the customer is having before we even get to see them, so that we can make sure we've got the right resource there for them with the right skills, the right equipment in the shortest possible time. But in the background, there's been a lot of work underway in terms of looking after the employee technical experience, the network capabilities that we have, quite a lot of modernisation there, but also then what we provide to our patrols to ensure that they can really give that confidence to the customer that when they get to the roadside and when they're with the customer, they can do all the things they need. And we have a very high success rate in terms of getting a customer moving again at the roadside. So making sure that they can really give that customer confidence that they will get them moving again, they can continue their journey. That's why customers want to be an AA member. So it's just making sure we can deliver on that customer promise as much as possible.
I'd like to come back to that at need earlier, because I think that's really, really super, super important. If we look at the AA, I think it's probably fair to say you've been on quite a large transformation.
Yeah.
3 years of consecutive growth now. Nice to see that things are really moving, to excuse the pun, as far as your roadside customers are concerned. There's clearly a great passion for delivering great CX. We can see that's evident. I think, was it 6th year running now that you've been your Which recommended provider of the year? Well, certainly one of the key things that really comes across when we think about the AA is how passionate you are about having engaged customers, but also engaged colleagues as well. Yes, I think the two come together. You've got a 3-horizon strategy that you often talk about at the top level. You've just come to the end of quite an important part of that, haven't you? Having finished Horizon 1. I think if we look at that and we think about some of the things that you've achieved there, that's really quite a monumental thing I think you've been through there when you think about how you've upgraded some of your organisation, execution capabilities, the core, the digital, the data infrastructure, your customer journeys. How do you basically ensure that you're keeping your customers moving, ironically, right, and making sure that when they're at need, that you're delivering that great service to them at the roadside, whilst obviously also improving the business's efficiency and productivity. There's no mean feat just for one horizon. That's certainly, I'd like to reflect on that just a little bit, and bring it back to certainly the conversations we've had with you around the connected van project that we've done. But when we reflect back at your 3-horizon strategy, where did the connected van project fit into that?
It does sit in one and two, I'd say. Horizon 1 was all about fixing the foundations and making sure everything that we did was excellent. And I think the challenge we had was with the network spectrum that you have across the country, the devices that we were using, embedded SIMs, they would only cover 3 and 4G. So we changed our tablets in the van to a newer device, but it only covered 3 and 4G. The rollout of 5G has been extremely quick, I think. Obviously, there's been a lot of lessons learned from the rollout of 3G, then 4G, and obviously enhancements to that. But now 5G is where people are really focusing, when the networks are really focusing. But also looking at how we can see the changes to the spectrum. The 3G is now being switched off. That starts to limit the capabilities that we have within the device that we were using at that time. So there were lots of conversations about, well, how do we take that forward? We were getting feedback from the patrols that they were often losing signal, and connectivity is vital to them to deliver the services that we want them to be able to deliver to customers. So we took a step back and said, actually, how do we deliver the right level of connectivity to our patrols to ensure that they can deliver a base level of service? But also think about Horizon 2. Well, where do you want to take this in the future? What's the future breakdown going to start looking like for us? And what's the future of the services that the NAF are going to look like for us? So it definitely sits in both of those camps, fixing the foundations, but also thinking about the opportunities for growth, additional services, improving services to customers in the future. It's allowed us to tap into both of those. And I'm sure you must be more aware than everyone in terms of the improvements we've seen in connectivity. It's pretty much a 10% improvement. So if you think about if a patrol, 1 in 10 of those visits, the patrol would not have had connectivity. Now, that patrol will have connectivity, and the amount of capability we've now given to the patrol to be able to diagnose and to resolve the customer problem as quickly as they can. When they don't have that, it's pretty difficult for them to do some of the things that we've asked them to do and to satisfy that customer. So by having that improvement in connectivity, they can do that more often for a customer and get them on the road again.
You said something really interesting there, actually. We said a lot of things very interestingly there. So you spoke about the connected van project and obviously some of the benefits that it linked. Just to add a bit more colour, though, how does that really feed into the broader strategic vision of the AA?
There's always a lot of moving parts. There's always a lot of, excuse the pun, there's always a lot of moving parts when you're trying to resolve an issue for a customer. So the connected van, we have so much technology now that we give to the patrols. They have a tablet, they have a phone, they have various different capabilities that are connected on their van. So they have potentially different networks that they're using, different spectrums of those networks are using because of the technologies in that equipment. So the connected van capability is fundamental for them to give consistency of service. I think that from my perspective, is what we needed to get out of this project is that consistency of connectivity every time. And I think we've seen that. The connected van capability gives us access to any network that is available at any point in the country, on any spectrum, at any frequency. So effectively, if there is signal there, we will get it. The only option beyond that would be to go satellite, and that would be overkill, certainly at this point, for what we need. So I think that the modular solution that we have to allow us to use any network, any frequency, and any spectrum is perfect for what we need. And we can see that in the data that we're getting back from the patrols, the customer satisfaction that we get in terms of our ability to serve a customer at the roadside, but also the employee satisfaction, the colleague satisfaction from our patrols. That's the highest it's been in a long time. We've had really good employee engagement results in our latest survey this year. And a lot of that is down to some of the stuff we've done here and the investment we've made in this as a capability.
I'd like to unpack a little bit more there, but I'm just going to bring yourself in. We touched a little bit there around some of the results that we saw, and I'd certainly like to get a bit of supply side perspective here. Obviously, you were very much involved in the project from the get-go. Antony unpacked quite a lot there about some of the statistics, some of the things that we saw. Add a little bit of colour to that from our side of things, Steve.
Yeah, if you look at why are businesses attracted to IoT, so why do businesses want to explore what IoT connectivity can do for them? It's usually about business process efficiency. And there's a knock-on effect of that, which is about providing a better service to the customer, having a better quality product, which makes the business more competitive. So ultimately, it helps the economic performance of the business. What was critical in this case was, it's clear that we just need to keep the trolls as connected as possible. So, they've got pretty much real-time connectivity, as Antony said, wherever they are in the country. So the way that, the AA decided to do that was to work with us with, a particular router provider, 2 SIM slots. We have a kind of single network SIM within the primary SIM slot, which enables the vast majority of the data traffic to go through at a reasonable cost. And then when the primary network is not available, the router will detect that based on signal strength, based on the level of jitter, based on the level of latency. And if any one of those parameters are missed, then the router will switch over to the secondary SIM. And then the router or the SIM will basically connect to the strongest signal that's available. So that's doing as much as we can with the existing terrestrial networks to keep the AA connected. And I think, as Antony said, they've seen tremendous benefits as a result of that. And it kind of backs up all the research that's been done that says, IoT connectivity is good for business.
Great segue. So benefits. I'd like to discuss a little bit more about the problems, but we'll come back to that. But whilst we're on the subject of benefits, what have been the main benefits? I'm going to ask, this is a twofer. Okay, so there's your customers and your colleagues. So clearly you're very valued guys and girls on the road that are out there getting the people that are at need back on their travel as soon as they possibly can. Let's start with the customer. What have been the main benefits that you think that the customer's beginning to now see now you've got better connected bags?
We use a lot of tools to try and diagnose what the problem may be for the customer. No patrol, even though they've got incredible levels of experience, will be able to know everything about every single vehicle at every single age. So they might rely on various different capabilities that we have for them to interrogate and search for what could the problem be and what could they do to fix that. 1 in 10 of times a patrol will be at roadside. They would not have access to that. So they're only able to go on all their experience and what they know. So we're much more likely to be able to then get that customer moving again. If you think 10%, it might not sound like a lot, but when you're dealing with thousands of jobs per day, that's still quite a high number where I can't get them going again. So now we have to call a secondary resource potentially to tow the vehicle or to put the vehicle on the back of a transporter and take it to a garage, when that patrol may have been able to fix that if they'd have been able to have access to some more information or some more data that they would need. Also, we rely heavily on the mapping capabilities to get to the customer as quick as we can. So being able to ensure that they've always got connectivity, we can always see where that patrol is, where the customer is, and make sure those two things meet in the shortest possible time. Again, 10% of the time, that wasn't as efficient as we wanted it to be. Now, because we've got the better connectivity in place, we can see that the mapping's better. We can improve all of those capabilities. And that's just looking at what we want to do today. There's clearly a lot more things. Now we've got this capability in place. We'd like to grow and take further advantage of that we're working on at the moment. But that is the kind of key fundamental, I think, for us to be able to be at a customer quicker. And if we can get another 5 to 10% of those customers going at the roadside, that's a fantastic result for us, fantastic result for the customer, and exactly the experience that we pride ourselves on doing well to deliver.
And fantastic results themselves, aren't they? Get the customer moving as quick as possible, use less resources to get that customer back on the road completely. It's a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah.
On both sides. What's the sort of sentiment that you've begun to start hearing now from your colleagues on the roadside that are operating?
Well, we started with a 6-vehicle test, effectively, and generally the feedback from that was pretty good. So we then rolled out to 350 of our patrols. That was able to give us a real baseline as to what improvement we were going to see. And we had a target in mind, which is we wanted to be at the Ofcom average for a particular network coverage. We far exceeded that in terms of the capability that we were able to provide to our patrols, and the feedback we got was excellent. We had some patrols, I think, when we did our worst 50 patrols. So those 50 patrols that we could see were not getting great connectivity and had told us they were not getting great connectivity. So we brought them on early, and then we had a cross-section across the country to make sure we had as much variation as possible, as much kind of empirical data as we could have. The feedback we got from those 50 patrols was fantastic. So the fact that they'd had some really poor experiences, and a lot of the time they're in the kind of highlands and islands, they're out there in really difficult locations.
You're in that 1% that no one seems to have coverage on.
Yeah, it's a difficult location. It's probably difficult territory. It's pretty bloody cold out there as well. In some of the places they're going to have to be. They don't want to be trying to find signal and trying to find a customer. We need to get someone there quickly, and then get the customer moving again and get the patrol onto their next job so they can help another customer. So we got some really good feedback from that. It's obviously a bit qualitative. One of the other benefits from the solution that we've got is we can see the experience down to an individual patrol, the connectivity that that they used to have and what they're having now. And we saw amazing improvements on those worth performing fitted. But we should also then see that carry across the entire, patrol workforce, and we can see the level of performance they're getting. But when they do have a problem, we can drill right into what is the experience that they're having, what is causing that experience. Is there a problem? And if there is, we can address it, as opposed to being a bit limited in terms of the amount of data we've got about the connectivity experience that the patrols are having. We've got some fairly generic data. Now we've got very specific data down to an individual patrol level at any given time of day. And we can look historically as well to see what the experience they were having when they reported the issue. We can see was it that there was just no connectivity in that place, or was there a wider issue that we can then address quickly?
Just to mind that a little bit more, because I'd like to just jump in there, because you've mentioned two very key and interesting areas. There is data and insight. Because obviously we can collect a lot of data, can't we? But what type of data and insights are you now collecting that you couldn't collect before?
The actual real experience that the patrol is having on their device, and whether or not what's driving that experience. Is it a problem with the device? Is it a problem with the network? Whatever that may be, we can now see that at a very granular level by an individual at any given time of day. And we can look historically as well at what experience they were having when that problem happened, because a lot of these times they may be temporary, but they may repeat. So you can then start to see, we can actually probably help Gamma understand there's a cell site down because we keep seeing this problem when we're going in that region. So we can see there's a problem and we can share the information with you. I mean, you've probably got that data already, but that gives us at least the ability to talk to our patrol and our colleagues around, there are issues in a certain area. We know about it and we're trying to do something to fix it, as opposed to not knowing that they've got a problem and we just assume it's that we can't get connectivity. We can see the specific problems and much, much clearer now.
So looking at the data and how it's helping you, I guess, be more efficient with the distribution of the fleet when it's out on the road, is it helping, not to obviously lead the witness here at all, Antony, but is it helping in any way in terms of allowing you to predict when things might need to be maintained? Is it allowing you to keep the van on the road, physically the van on the road for a longer period of time, or have you not seen any of those sorts of things?
The connectivity itself probably isn't that fundamental to that. We have capabilities within our vans. We actually have products that we use with customers that allow us to diagnose in real time problems with the vehicle. And this will be a very complex algorithm that will look at the data that's coming back to try and predict what the customer issue is having. We clearly use those in our own vans as well. So it's not so much the connected van capability that's allowing us to do that. It's just part of the product suite that we have at the AA to be able to diagnose what might be a live problem in a vehicle.
You mentioned at the start, fixing foundations was what Horizon 1 was largely designed to deliver. And I guess you could say that the connected van was part of those foundations, clearly as a key part of the fabric of the AA. Do you see that there are going to be future, maybe even immediate benefits from having those foundations in those vans better, that's actually going to deliver benefits elsewhere? Because you mentioned there were other things that we were doing already that were helping to deliver these things. Is this a force multiplier to benefits elsewhere?
I think there's definitely things that we're exploring at the moment about how can this connectivity help us with other use cases. And one of the other things that was quite clear to us is we now have much more device choice. Do I need a SIM-enabled tablet in the van? No, I've got fantastic Wi-Fi. I've got resilience now across networks. I've got resilience across the spectrum. So those things, again, help us as a business to make sure that we can always serve our customers. So certainly we're looking at ways that we can use this capability wider to generate more value to the customer and more value to the business. But I think there's still things that we haven't yet finalised, including probably one of the first bit we talked about that as we start to use the connected van capability to do that.
We're beginning to look to the future now, but if we maybe just centre on where we are today, and I'm going to bring yourself in, Steve. Where do you see the immediate future for these types of services that we're providing that clearly the AA are leveraging in their vans?
It's interesting as we talk to customers about IoT. I think one of the things that we see is as the radio technologies are evolving, use cases that perhaps in the past people may have thought about but just weren't quite viable are now becoming viable. Interestingly, just this basic requirement to improve connectivity, to improve the level of coverage, to improve the quality of the coverage as well, makes many more things viable. So I think we are seeing a definite demand in the early stages for SIMs in routers, either as a fast start or as a backup to fixed connectivity, or as in the AA's case, it's a mobile only solution because the use case is mobile. What we are seeing though is a further evolution of radio technologies. So if you look at the components of IoT, you will have a device that is capturing some data and it's sending that data somewhere to be interpreted and to drive an action. And again, if you look at the AA's case, they've done tremendous work in improving their suite of tools that are available to patrols. And what the connectivity does here is just makes that powerful enhancement that's been brought into being available to those patrols more of the time and when they need that information. So device connectivity, software at the back end. What we're seeing is evolution of radio technologies. Things like 5G RedCap are quite important going forward. So you can look at connectivity now as being essentially broadband or narrowband. Narrowband is suitable for telemetry type applications. And 5G RedCap will be an extremely efficient way of transmitting that data, very cost efficient as well. So that will probably open up more opportunities. We're seeing many more use cases that are like SIMs on the top of wind turbines. So we're now starting to get into the realm of industrial IoT, where you have sensors tracking the performance of critical components in machinery or in things like wind turbines, which are difficult to get to and costly to maintain. So what you then see is that, okay, we know how this piece of machinery is performing, and we only need to send somebody out when we really need to fix something or address something. So I think many more use cases, as I said, are becoming viable, and that's helping businesses drive efficiency. Antony mentioned earlier satellite, and I think another big evolution really is in satellite standards. So with Release 17, and this is a satellite standard, communication standard, satellites that are being launched today are compatible with a standard mobile device. So no longer in the future will you have to procure very expensive satellite devices. You can use your tablet or your phone, and that will work perfectly well. But the way we see this working is that you will have satellite as an option on the SIM. So where we, with this solution, we have access to all of the UK terrestrial networks, and as Antony said, where as long as there's a signal somewhere, you will pick it up. Where there's no terrestrial signal, you would then be able to fail over onto satellite. So I think that's another interesting use case going forward that we can.
It feels like the hype and the use case are now becoming very, very much more like. I'd like to ask the similar sort of question. I mean, that by all means, think about this beyond the connected vans, but clearly as a CIO and a forward-looking technologist, I'm sure you've got a view in terms of how do you see the market moving forward. Are there any other use cases that really are top of mind spring to mind for yourself, Antony?
I think connected cars are obviously a key thing, and it'll be a key thing for us is that the amount of data that a car produces is huge. And how do you get that data from the vehicle, either back to the manufacturer if they're trying to use that for warranty-based services, or to potentially a supplier like us who are trying to help a customer when they have an issue with their vehicle. So certainly from that side, as cars become computers effectively, at the end of the day, the electric cars are just more computational there than the internal combustion engine potentially. And then you think about the amount of data points they can send back to you to be able to interpret and turn into insight into what's going on in that vehicle. We need to be able to see kind of high bandwidth. I think the broadband effectively equivalent for the amount of data that's being produced coming back to source that can then be interpreted and analysed and then acted upon. That to me is it's happening, but it will accelerate, and you see that with these automated electric vehicles, things like that. You're going to need that level of data coverage and data throughput in order to make that really successful. And clearly, we're going in that direction anyway. But we need that connectivity to be in place for that to really be successful to work.
I think this is where something. Well, I think there's two potential solutions for this. One would be you kind of have a blend of connectivity across fixed and mobile. So you imagine in the electric vehicle case, you get back home. Someone told me, and I don't know if this is true, that the amount of data you could take from a car is something like 90 gig per day. It's huge. And over traditional mobile networks, that just wouldn't be feasible, and it would cost a fortune. So one option was you park in the garage, and the stuff that you don't need in real time, you take over Wi-Fi. But with the evolution of 5G standalone, I think we need to see how that's going to go, how much densification there will be, how much capacity there will be in the network. But 5G today is built largely on 4G core networks. Going forward, we'll start to see the full benefits of 5G with things like network slicing that people have talked about before, where you guarantee the bandwidth all the way from the device through the radio network, through the core network. And that will open a much, much more capacity as well.
So you've got better connected vans. What's your vision of the future as we sit here today, Antony?
And we know what the problem the customer's having before we get there, and hopefully in many cases we can fix it remotely as well. The fact that we can tell a customer they're about to have an issue, and if they are about to have an issue, we meet them at the right place. We address that issue before they have any service interruption to their journey, and they can carry on without actually ever having any form of breakdown. It's almost to remove the challenge of having a breakdown situation, particularly in dangerous locations where no one wants to break down the motorway. If we can inform a customer that this is something that could happen to them and that we'll address it before that even becomes a reality for them, I think that's good for all of us.
That's an interesting evolution, isn't it? It's sort of the thing you're famous for, you try and resolve completely, but then you're one step ahead.
You'll always need the yellow down. You'll always need the yellow band. There will be things that you cannot predict, but to try and take some of the uncertainty out of that for customers is what we'd like.
But that's the ultimate customer benefit, isn't it? That you can stop me from having a breakdown in the first instance by being more proactive towards it. That's fascinating in itself. So if we're just to bring this back, some of the benefits that you're immediately seeing with the customers, then if you were just to summarize, what are the benefits that you absolutely believe your customers are now receiving as a result of this?
Just the confidence that when we get to them, we'll get them as quick as we can. We'll get them going again. And if we can't get them going, we can get the right resource to them or find other ways for them to continue their journey so they have as little disruption as possible and as much confidence in them being able to take a journey, and that they have the support, the full support of the Ayers, a business and all of its different capabilities to ensure that will be as seamless as possible for them. No one wants to break down, but when they do, because it is an inevitability from time to time, they will be responded to quickly with care, but also they will be able to continue their journey.
Can I ask you a couple of quick fires now? Here. Can you just describe a specific operational pain point that Connected Van has solved?
Yeah, it all comes down to the ability for a patrol to be able to get to a customer and to be able to diagnose that problem as quickly as possible.
How critical is it for you to have a solution that could give you guaranteed network connectivity?
It's fundamental. We have given so much technical capabilities to our patrols, despite the fact that their mechanics are able to fix engines. we give them a lot of technical capabilities to help them get there and to access that information as quickly as possible to get the customer moving quickly. This is fundamental to it now. We made it so technically enabled that if we took that away, it would really impact how our patrols work.
We've been here before, but I'm going to ask the question to see if we get a slightly different answer. Antony, so how has Connected Van impacted positively your day-to-day fleet operations?
There is greater confidence in our patrols that they will have the signal the whole way through the day that they need to be able to satisfy the customers.
Talk to us a little bit more about how it's helped you to serve your customers in remote and challenging areas.
We know that you don't get coverage from every network everywhere across the country, and they're obviously where do people break down? They don't always break down in cities. They often break down in quite remote locations where it can be quite dangerous for them, and then we need to get them off the road or moving quickly. So by having the ability to access any spectrum, any frequency at any network, anywhere, we have got the ability to get to them, find them, and then hopefully get them on their journey again, or at least get the right backup from the rest of the area to get them moving or get them off the road and somewhere safe. So yeah, it's fundamental to that.
I'm hopeful we've asked enough questions about the solution to maybe switch the attention to us. Just for a little bit, Antony, if I may just indulge myself a little bit, okay? So why was Gamma the partner of choice for this solution?
So we're already a customer of Gamma. We were looking at this is quite a complex solution. There are multiple suppliers involved, there are multiple capabilities involved. But Gamma were able to bring all that together for us as a single solution and to not have to be contacting lots of different suppliers, trying to work out where the problem is if we ever have a problem. And so far, it's been very reliable. But being able to have one organisation that we can engage with a one service agreement has been beneficial to us and how we would like to engage. So that has worked really well for us, and also the level of visibility and insight into what is going on, the reporting and capability reporting that is in place for this solution that you were able to provide was fundamental.
With definitely kindred spirits in the way we talk about giving our customers confidence. How did Gamma give you confidence to actually go ahead and actually deliver the project?
I think Gamma was incredibly responsive when we were talking about how we want to piece all these different bits together. You gave us a very clear proposal that was based on our experience of working with you, so it was very believable and something that we could get behind. And so far, when we talk about customer promises, you've delivered on that customer promise to us. So,
to use the cliche, it's always a bit of a journey. How did you find the whole exercise of going through the piloting and then the rolling out of it, the implementation of the solution with Gamma?
I could always ask you that question because there was a lot. It's a big investment for us, let's be honest. So we had to convince a lot of people it's the right investment for us because of some of the connectivity challenges we had previously and the investments we made. So we were continuing to invest in this problem. You supported us extremely well, the way in which we did the rollout, the way in which we structured the contract, the way in which we put in place various different measurements that we could contract against in terms of the performance that we needed to see and the improvements we needed to see. That worked really well for us.
Do you think we were different in our approach in any way? And did you see any value in maybe the way in which we engaged with you as we went through that process?
I think we're very flexible in the way that you engage us. I think you probably understand us as well as a business in the same way as we understand you. You know what will be driving us. You know what will be pain points, but also the drivers that we have and with the things that we're looking to achieve. So certainly you responded well to that.
So as we look to the future, look to continue to support the AA with really growth at its core and clearly ambitions to really begin to accelerate now and look at new areas in which it can expand. Certainly new ways in which it can enrich its customer experience and no doubt probably get more customers to do more with you across, you've got a very broad portfolio. What does the future look like for the AA just now in terms of its as it moves into Horizon 2 and Horizon 3?
Yeah, I think the business is very forward focused, looking at what's coming next, looking at how we can continue to support our customers, looking at how we can delight them and try and take the fear away as they move away from typical internal combustion engine into potentially electric vehicles and what may come next beyond that, hydrogen vehicles. How can we support our customers along that journey, be that from a breakdown perspective, an advisory perspective, a training perspective, using all of the different capabilities that we've got to just give those customers confidence to move forward with their driving journey.
If we were in the pub and we were talking about connected van, how would you just summarize it in a pint's worth of conversation about what it is that you did and what the benefit was?
And if there is connectivity, we will get it. And that just enabled all the things that we want to do to support our customers and support our patrols.
Brilliant. I'm going to ask you the same question. So you use this company called Gamma. So we're down the pipe, obviously, last year. So who's this Gamma? How would you describe how Gamma's helped the AA and you personally?
I think the way in which you've innovated around the multi-network SIM and some of those capabilities that we were contemplating was that a better solution to put into the tablets that we currently use, but actually the fact that we can then put that into a router which has the ability to use any spectrum, any network, anywhere and anywhere that was available, that just gave us the ability to do all the things we wanted to do with one single solution.
Any closing comments from Kitsart?
No, I mean, I think this really is the start of an exciting journey. I think from a Gamma perspective, we're really looking forward to working with you over the coming months and years, bringing forward for consideration the emerging technology and seeing how we can work together to benefit your customers.
It's been I think with the improvements that we're seeing in terms of the connectivity, that what that's turning into, the satisfaction from our patrols, the improvements in NPS that we're seeing with our customers, it's ticking all the boxes we wanted to see. And in fact, when we look at the connectivity that we intended and what we would have deemed to have been a success from this initiative, we've exceeded that. So, but we had to do it right. So the key is having the data that proves that what we're doing is having a difference and is making an improvement. That was the key for us, because we are talking large investments here, and that we have to be able to show they will deliver the return that we said. It's a business that is switched on to when it is investing, what is the return going to be? So we had to make sure we could show them.
If you were us, is there anything you'd be doubling down on that you can see from your lens?
There's nothing that stands out. I think that that was the service there. There's so much for as a service offers. How do you almost start to offer these things as a service, which is almost kind of where we got to in the end, but probably by accident more than by design. So I think there is an opportunity there when you're looking at these kind of capabilities. How can you offer it as a rental service so that it makes it economically easier in terms of the investment for people to start to take advantage of these capabilities?
Okay, well, I think we're coming to the end now. I think we'll probably try and end with just some very, very closing comments. Just final thoughts, Anthony, just to wrap us up, CSO.
No, I mean, I suppose what we've really benefited from this capability, the relationship, it's certainly working for us. It's been very positively received by our patrols, and given that they are those people on the front line, they are the presence our customer sees when they're in a difficult situation. They see a patrol, when the yellow van turns up, they feel confident that someone is now going to help them continue their journey or to rescue them. They rescue people from the side of the road in difficult situations. We have to give them the highest level of capability we can as a business to be able to perform. And I think we're now doing that, whereas before it didn't feel like we were able to give them the level of capability we really wanted to, and now I think we are. And I think that's coming back in terms of the feedback we get from our patrols.
Marvellous. Thank you so much for joining us today and discussing what has been a really interesting and exciting project for us all. I think this is just the start, though. It feels like, doesn't it? We've got those foundations in place. We certainly look forward to working with you to see how we can help you on that data journey, to look at those different use cases, ways in which we can obviously leverage that data, which is clearly going to be important to every organisation moving forward. And we certainly look forward to seeing what the next phases in the future looks like as we continue to help you really, I guess, wring the neck of this investment that you've now got for the benefit of both your colleagues and your customers, and how we drive through those horizons. So thanks for your time today, Keithley.
Cheers.
Thanks.